And good evening, I'm political editor Dennis Wells. This is Politics Unplugged, and the Phoenix City Council will have two new faces after this week's runoff elections. Kevin Robinson defeated Sam Stone in District 6, and in District 8, Kesha Hodge Washington was the winner, unseating incumbent Carlos Garcia. She joins us now. I want to thank you very much for being here. Congratulations on that victory, and let's get right down into this. I mean, the victory, immediately you have to start transitioning and you have to start pulling people back together. And we saw on Twitter, we saw some immediate criticisms coming after you that you're just going to be this rubber stamp for Governor Gallego and her agenda out that. How are you responding to that, and were you surprised by this?
No, I'm not surprised by it. I've seen a number of attacks, and I knew that that was part of politics. I'm ready to stand on my own 2 feet, 10 toes down in who I am. I am not a rubber stamp for anyone. Yeah,
and how do you go about kind of repairing that? I know there's always some harsh feelings left over after these hard-fought campaigns and whatnot. Are you doing anything? You're planning to do anything to reach out to those people who were your opponent's supporters?
Oh yes, I do, because I believe that I represent the entirety of the district, the entirety of the city. So yes, I do plan on reaching out to those critics, and hopefully we can mend the fences. One of my goals is to continue to build consensus. As part of the campaign, I was able to build a broad coalition, and I intend to continue to do that as a city councilwoman.
Yeah, and for people watching out here who still want to say oh, she's just a part of Gallego's agenda and whatnot. Where do you see you differing right now with the mayor as you prepare to take office?
We have a difference of opinion on one of the basic things, and that's on how to address the homeless. I actually am a fan of designated encampment areas so that individuals can get their services, the shelter, and the support that they need in centralized locations. The mayor is not a fan of that. And I'm also a lawyer by trade, so I see things from that legal standpoint, and it may differ with the mayors.
Yeah, and homelessness, housing, really huge issues, not only in Phoenix, but across the state. And let's talk a little bit about that. Your opponent, Mr. Garcia, is still going to be on the council for the next few meetings while you prepare to take over that office. And a lot of speculation is that Garcia and some of his allies are going to try to push through some of his, his items before he leaves, one of those being a way to block some, redevelopment of some trailer park homes out there. Where are you on this issue?
I don't feel like I have enough information to give a full opinion on it, but okay. At this juncture, I do understand and I sympathize with those individuals that are facing eviction because of this, but I also respect and understand that the property owners have their own attendant property rights. So I would be focused on trying to help those individuals that live in the mobile home parks transition to something else.
And let's talk a little bit about housing. Again, huge issue, particularly in Phoenix. I mean, Arizona's been hit hard. Phoenix has been hit really hard. Anybody who's lived here for any length of time knows and have seen how rents have skyrocketed, how the prices of housing has skyrocketed. Is there a fix out there? We see, the state lawmakers right now are grappling with this, and they can't seem to come up with any consensus. What are you looking at? What do you think the fix is? Is it zoning changes? Is it, what is that? Is it going after, investors who are buying up the housing stock? What's the answer here?
I think the answer is not, there's no one answer. It's going to take a comprehensive approach. It's going to take multifaceted answers. I think, one thing that some indications have been the city needs to call for rent control, but that's preempted by state law. So our legislatures are the ones that has to do that. I think you can incentivize the type of behavior that you want, whether or not that's instituting a good neighbor program where you partner with developers that are going to control their rent in a more manner that works for you. It also requires zoning. It could look at zoning changes. It could be repurposing our city-owned property to provide for the type of housing that we want, and that's partnering with private institutions as well in order to get it up and running. So it's a number of factors.
Yeah, some people have mentioned maybe is there some sort of rent control for renters out there? I know at the state level, Democrats had introduced some legislation. It didn't get a hearing, but it was to cap rent increases to no more than 5%. Is that something the city could even look at doing or get involved with?
So this is where my legal training hat comes in. Is okay. I as much as I think that might be a step that the city could do, I think it's preempted by state by preemption, the doctrine of preemption, meaning that if our state law sets differently, the city can't can conflict with it. So right now the state law says you can't set rent control.
Okay, and let's switch gears here. Let's talk a little bit about policing. Big issue in the campaign there. Now, I read an article. It was basically saying, I want to get this kind of right. It said that you had felt that your opponent lost some votes because he was so focused on police reform. Is that an accurate description, characterization of how you felt about that campaign, and why do you feel that way?
I feel, well, I don't recall saying exactly that terminology, but I do believe that I've met a lot of people on the campaign trail that felt that their voice regarding the need for law enforcement or police in their neighborhood was not really received. And I understand that I don't want any law enforcement that is abusive of their powers or that are not diligent in the way that they serve, but I also understand the neighborhoods and the neighbors that feel like they need that they need that presence to feel so that unsavory characters are not in their neighborhood.
Yeah. And do you think there needs to be changes to policing in Phoenix at all? I mean, right now we're in the middle of, a number of police shootings. I believe we're at 10 right now. It's the highest at this point early in the year that it's ever been since they started tracking this just back in 2017. Do you need some changes about how they go about policing? What would those be?
So one of the things I would want to see is exactly there's a DOJ investigation. I would want to see what that investigation finds, because I'm just looking at it from outside. I don't know what the actual findings are, so I want to see those findings. Another thing we want to note is that the students that we've seen, many of them were conducted by individuals who were prohibited possessors. So we need to figure out how it is that these individuals got to the state that they are. And I also believe, like anything else, you can always continue to refine the system. One of the things I think the police department should consider, is continuing psychological evaluations for our officers to make sure that they're performing at their best capacity.
All right. Well, I want to thank you very much. We're going to have to end it right there, but thank you very much and good luck. Congratulations on the victory again. Good luck as you prepare to take office.